Good morning, everyone. My name is Emma Friedman, and I'm a grade 9 student at Chat. I'd like to begin by expressing my appreciation and gratitude to the Beth Tzedec Men's Club for sponsoring this contest and for the opportunity to speak with you today. Rabbi Friedman Cole, Men's Club members, and guests. After reflecting on the subject of Heneini, I came to the conclusion that even though the literal translation of Heneini is, "Here I am" or "Here am I," its significance does not have to do with the notion of physical space. In my opinion, to really understand Heneini, you need to imagine that the phrase is part of a longer sentence, something along the lines of, "Here I am, ready and willing to do what is required of me." I believe Heneini incorporates the ideas of obligation and commitment, and that when Heneini is declared, it represents both an acknowledgement of those ideals and a willingness to follow through on a task and accept the responsibility that comes with it. The first time we read Heneini is in Bereshit, when God commands Abraham to sacrifice Yitzchak. God calls out Abraham, and Abraham responds, "Heneini." Abraham understood that God was asking him to commit to a task, and he chose to accept it by responding, "Heneini." But there had been previous times when God gave Abraham tasks to which he freely committed himself. So why now does Abraham express his obedience by responding, "Heneini"? Furthermore, Abraham commits to God's request before actually knowing what is being asked. Unlike earlier encounters, for example, in Parsha Lech Lecha, when in chapter 12:1, God instructs Abraham to, quote, "Go forth from your native land and from your father's house to the land that I will show you," end quote. But what I find most significant is that Abraham was still prepared to fulfill God's request even after learning he was being asked to sacrifice Yitzchak. Abraham's faith and commitment was unconditional, and an indication of how completely he trusted in God's plan. This interpretation can be applied when performing tikkun olam. When people volunteer themselves in support of a cause, they may not always be assigned a task of their choosing. There are times for the sake of the greater good when it is necessary to do whatever is asked of you. I believe that this is one of the lessons of Heneini. We see Heneini declared again during the story of Akedat Yitzchak, when Yitzchak calls out to Abraham and Abraham answers back, "Heneini." This behavior reflects Abraham's feeling of commitment towards his son. As a father, he is aware of his obligations to protect his child. Knowing what he was about to do, Abraham says, "Heneini," in an effort to comfort Yitzchak and reassure him that all was okay. Abraham does not see his obligation to God and to family as conflicting. So while he was preparing to sacrifice Yitzchak, he tries to spare his son any feelings of stress or anxiety during this very traumatic situation. As strange as it may seem, Abraham's expression of fatherly love and his commitment to both God and family reinforces the ideals of Heneini as a positive model for behavior. The next time we read Heneini is during the story of Moses. Moses flees Egypt and eventually settles in Midian. At Mount Horeb, Moses sees the burning bush and approaches it. It is then that God calls out, "Moses, Moses," and Moses answers, "Heneini." God instructs Moses to go to Egypt and free Bnei Israel. Now, while Moses was aware of the suffering of the Jewish people, and no doubt awed by the presence of God, I believe that when he declared Heneini and obligated himself to the task of freeing the Jews, his main motivation was a sense of responsibility and obligation to his people. For if his only concern had been his relationship to God, Moses would not have questioned God's decision of choosing him. Furthermore, I believe it's possible that Moses, when he responded to God with Heneini, may have acted impulsively and done so prematurely. While Moses may have been sincere in his willingness to fulfill God's request, almost immediately after, he has feelings of self-doubt. He questions his personal abilities and whether he is the right person to confront Pharaoh. You would not imagine anyone refusing a request from God, but Moses tried to. His attempt to excuse himself from the task suggests he may have rushed into making this commitment. As we saw in the case with Moses, problems can arise for those who commit to tasks without first considering what is being asked of them. However, once a commitment is made, that person should do everything they can to follow through and complete that task. When we back out of an obligation, it leaves others disappointed and weakens or breaks the bonds of trust that have been established. We also find Heneini declared in Nevi'im, Isaiah chapter 6:8, when reference is made to our relationship with God, and how if we trust and follow God's teachings, then when we are troubled and in need of comfort, we will call out and God will answer Heneini. For me, this is the most comforting and reassuring example of Heneini. This interpretation suggests the relationship between God and Bnei Israel is one of codependency. God does not expect the people of Israel to assume the responsibility of commitment without believing that there is a benefit. If we commit ourselves to follow God's laws, then God will help us to make our lives better and realize our aspirations. In each of the above examples, I've interpreted the declaration of Heneini as reflecting a desire to make a positive difference. Regardless of age, all of us are overwhelmed with obligations, but not necessarily obligations that are freely accepted. We are too easily distracted with routine or unimportant tasks and not focused on more meaningful ones. So whether it be volunteering your time, giving tzedakah, or committing more attention to family and friends. Let's ask everyone here today to take a moment and reflect on your level of commitment to yourself, to your personal relationships, and to your community. Whether it be volunteering your time, giving tzedakah, or committing more attention to family and friends. Let's not wait for someone to ask us to make a commitment. Let's all declare, Heneini, here am I, and accept the responsibility that goes with being a member of this community. Let's resolve to take it upon ourselves to be a positive force for change and make our world a better place. Thank you.